take the leaderboard out of it this year and just go out there and do what I love in honor of him, no matter what the leaderboard is. Like, give myself some grace, and it's not about that anymore. Much more important things. So it's just a very different experience this year.
Waiting for my Uber to head over to Dickies Arena. We have Lazar's tribute this morning. That's the first thing, so we'll get in for that, and then we'll have a day of games. Hi. So let's talk a little bit about the last day or so. It has been sad, heavy. When I first heard that Lazar Đukić died, I didn't believe it. So I got in late Wednesday, too late to pick up my press pass. So I didn't have it for the morning event. So I decided I would just watch the live stream and go straight to Dickies and skip the run swim. So I wasn't there, but I've spoken to a lot of people who were there who didn't even know it happened until after. And it's really terrible. Yeah, there's just not a lot of words to describe. It's tragic. He was so close to the finish, and there's going to be a police investigation, and we'll find out more about what happened based on that. So when it comes to the technical aspects of what happened, I'm not going to comment on that because I just don't know. I wasn't there, and there's a lot of questions still. So we'll leave that to the professionals. But there's a heaviness. We just had the remembrance, or what did they decide to call that? Let me check. They called it a special tribute honoring Lazar. It was a little bit, I'm going to be honest, for me, it was a little bit underwhelming. I thought it would be a little bit more. I thought there might be a video. But I believe the athletes were consulted about that. There was long talks last night, and maybe that is exactly what they wanted. So if that is the case, then I'm glad they had what they thought was best for this point in the competition, when many of them or some of them have to go out and compete in just a few minutes. So maybe that was part of it too. I didn't say anything yesterday, mostly because I didn't really know him very well. I saw him at these competitions, but had minimal interaction with him. So I wanted to let people who were more closely impacted have their time. I think it's been really hard on a lot of people, a lot of the athletes, especially because I think a lot of the athletes are on the younger side. We don't have the masters here, and it's a lot of their first, it could be some of their first experiences with death this close. And it's a hard thing to deal with. I have had the experience of having close people to me pass quite a bit for someone my age. I've lost a parent. I've lost multiple colleagues, and I had a police officer I worked with the whole time when I lived in Tulsa. I was at the scene of where he was shot and killed. So I've had a lot of experience with this, and unfortunately, so I think everyone grieves differently, and I teared up at the ceremony this morning, but I think because of my experiences, I can move through it a little bit differently than some other people, and I didn't know him as well as some other people. And I think everyone grieves differently, and we shouldn't we shouldn't judge people for the way that they grieve. We should let people grieve the way that they feel is best. I personally have found through the loss of family members and friends that I grieve best with a community. So I was very grateful when I heard that the CrossFit Games was going to continue today and the rest of the weekend, because I want to be with my community after this. And it's okay for people that don't want to be with the community. It's okay for the athletes that say they want to withdraw. If there are fans that don't want to attend anymore, I respect that. Some people grieve that way. I appreciate that CrossFit has made the decision to continue the games, because for those of us like me who very much like to grieve with the support of my community, to be there for one another, to hold one another up, to feel these feelings together, I'm grateful that we get to do that, and that CrossFit is allowing us that space to continue to have this weekend have more to it than a tragedy, than something all of us will never forget who were here. But to go on, I think I'm just grateful that we have this opportunity to be together. If for those of us who want it, it's okay not to want it. It's okay for people to choose not to watch my videos. I'm totally fine with that, because you don't feel that there should be a continuation of this. I understand that. That is a valid choice. And for people not to watch the games, if that's what they need in their grieving, I support you. But for those of us like me who do want the support of the community, I am here. I will continue publishing videos. We will remember Lazar all weekend at every event, and remember his memory. And I think the community is going to be there for one another. And I think coming together during tragedy will help some. And I'm glad that those some that need it will have it. And those who don't can choose to turn it off and grieve the way that they feel is best for them. Lazar was a great guy, and this is going to hurt for a long time. But hopefully we can make some additional memories this weekend while we remember him. Good dog. I realized I've not talked about the leaderboard yet. I did record something yesterday, but I didn't put out a video. So let's go over it now before we have the next event. So in first, after the swim, Jelle Hoste, and I am not super surprised to see him in first. He's a bigger athlete, built very much like Brent Fikowski, who finished second in this event. So I think that is, I think that is all to be expected. It'll be interesting to see if Jelle can maintain a position on the podium or in the top 10. I had him projected to be a top 10 athlete this year. So looking good so far. Brent Fikowski, he is in second. Third is Roman Krennikov. I think that's a great finish for him. And fourth, Ricky Garrard, who I think could win the entire games. So good to see him with a great first event. Going down the leaderboard, in 11th, we have Justin Medeiros. Definitely a position he can continue to climb up from. Definitely a position you can still win the games after getting, for sure. So very good positioning for Justin. Cole Sager is in 12th. As we continue to scroll, we'll see a surprising one, Patrick Vellner, currently in 33rd. I mean, surprising, sort of. Patrick Vellner has a history of not doing well on the first event or swim events. So, I mean, 33rd is not like the most shocking thing, but I thought he would do a little bit better than that. I figured he'd be like a mid-20s. 33rd position is only 14 points. Can he come back from that? For sure. But it's not a great finish, and I think it's worth mentioning that some of the athletes may withdraw before this next event. So some athletes that aren't in a great position right now may receive some assistance from those withdrawals. It might make it easier to make that first cut, which I believe is still happening. Going over to the women's side of things, at the top of the leaderboard, a very, very familiar name, and that is Tia-Clair to me. And I believe her score is closer to her time in that event, and the run swim was closer to the time of the fastest man than it was to the second fastest woman, who was Bethany Shadburn, who I was a little bit surprised to see do that well, but great for her, especially because some of the heavier events, like the heavy clean with her back issues, may not be great events for her. There's a high rep deadlift event, so having a second here may really help her put herself in a good position for the rest of the weekend. Emily Rolfe in 3rd. Haley Adams got a 7th place finish. I think I was expecting a tiny bit more from her, but 7th is still a solid finish. Laura Horvath is in 9th, and Karen Freyova is in 8th. I believe those two athletes may have pulled out. That's what I'm seeing. We haven't gotten official word from CrossFit yet. So that may be the end of their weekend. After that, Danielle Brandon in 10th. Gabby Magala is in 12th. So a lot of names we expected to be near the top are there. Alexis Raptis was in 14th. I did speak to someone from Training Think Tank that said at some point she felt like she was a little bit lost in the water and got a little bit off course. So probably could have done a little bit better if that didn't happen. But 14th is definitely a place you can easily be within striking distance of the podium from there. Lots of events still to come. Ariel Lowen in 20th. Emma Lawson, 23rd, a little bit surprising for a run swim event. Brooke Wells, 25th. I would say, and then, probably the most surprising is all the way down near the bottom. We've got Danny Spiegel in 37th. That one is not what I meant by most surprising, but very, very surprising is 38th, Alex Gazan. So Alex Gazan is someone people picked for the podium. 38th place finish is not ideal to get there, and now there's less events to make up that difference. I did see Justin Kotler briefly yesterday and talked with him in a group setting, and he said that the swim was hard. Alex was a little bit lost in the water as well. As I spoke with someone from Training Think Tank about Alexis as well. And she was a little bit scared from what I heard from Justin in the water. So it makes sense. It was a hard workout, hard swim for a lot of people. So Alex Zan finished in 49 minutes and 14 seconds. Lexi Neely was in 39th at 51 minutes and 3 seconds. Then Kyra Milligan was way back 6 minutes longer than Lexi at 57:18. So a lot of people struggled in that event. But it is day 2 and lots more events today. 3, we'll see some movement, I think. Also, Texas is much hotter than the Bay Area. It is warm in here. Out here. It is warm out here. I'm going inside.
10 toes down, I'ma ride with the gang. My whole life I've been doing my thing. Get that money, ain't no thing. Anything I do for the gang. 10 toes down, I'ma ride with the gang. My whole life I've been doing my thing. Get that money, ain't no thing. Anything I do for the gang. Anything I do for the gang. Took those L's and I took that blame. All money in, we ain't copping no change. Feel like Ice Cube 'cause it did good day. Don't need 3 whips, don't up, I'm coming. This is all we ever wanted.
Inside it is freezing, and out here it is very, very hot. So we just had event 2. So it does appear we are calling it event 2. We're skipping the events that were supposed to happen yesterday and just referring to these as 2. Yesterday was event 1. At least that's what it seems like based on what they're announcing inside. So I will call it event 2. And let's talk a little bit about how things look after event 2. So after event 2, looking at the leaderboard on the women's side, we'll start with that since it just ended and the men's leaderboard hasn't updated quite yet. On the women's side, in first, we still have tia-clair to me. I don't think there's any surprises there, except for the fact that she came in first in both of the first 2 events, and now the question becomes, can she just win them all? We'll find out. She looked a little bit emotional, like a lot of people, about the Lazar situation, but definitely was able to get back to that tunnel vision that we know that she has and execute for event 2. Emily Rolfe is currently in second and had 2 really great finishes, a 3rd and a 6th. Now I imagine that clean and jerk workout won't be very good for her, but she's in a great position so far. Emma Tall is your 3rd place person. She's got a 4th and a 5th. And then Haley Adams, this comeback story, is currently in 4th place with a 7th place finish on the run swim, the Lake Day event, and then a 3rd place finish in the midline climb. So really impressed with the way Haley looks. In 5th, we have Bethany Flores, and I felt like this last event was just damage control with her back, with all the JHD sit-ups and deadlifts. So an 11th place finish in that. That's a great day for Bethany Flores, or a great start. In 6th, we have Maddie Sturt, who, very, very impressed with her. She won her heat, and the only person to beat her time was tia-clair Toomey, who she now trains with very frequently, and I think we can see the results of that so far from this competition have been very good. And she was also very dominant at the Oceania semifinal, so she didn't win because she didn't do well on just one of the events, but I think we're going to see Madeline Sturt as the best person to come out of that semifinal this year, would be my guess so far. And then in 7th, and I'm not going to go through every single placing, but these top 7 are all sort of relevant. We've got Gabby Magala, which I was a little bit surprised to see that she was still competing, because both her boyfriend, Christoph Horvath, and his team, and Laura Horvath, her training partner, best friend, are not competing because they want to honor Lazar in a different way by not competing. So I was a little surprised to see her still competing. We'll go down the list a little bit, see what other big names we have. Alexis Raptis, she did not look great on the midline climb. She has a history of back injuries. I'm not sure if that was acting up. She also looked very emotional coming out, so could be a combination of those 2 things. So she's in 17th with a 26th place finish in midline climb. Then we've got Brooke Wells in 18th. Alex Kazan actually did a really great job in this workout. She finished 9th and put herself in 22nd, climbing out of that 38th position that she was in going into this event. So that's pretty good for Alex Kazan. I'm sure 22nd is not where she wants to be sitting right now, but she's making that climb after a bad first finish and keeping her head in the game. And they reseeded for this next event, so she will move up and out of that last place heat. Danielle Brandon did not do well on this midline climb. She's now in 24th. She finished 37th in the midline climb. Other than that, I would say most of the names lower down are who we'd expect. Chloe Gavin David actually did really well in this workout. She finished 27th. Does not sound well, but she decided to wait a minute before starting her workout and still managed to finish 27th. So theoretically, her 17:30 time is more like a 16:30 time, which would be much more competitive. So actually, looking at Emma Lawson, finished in 16:30, so that would have been a top 20, close to a top 20 finish if Chloe had started when she was supposed to. So interesting there. Let's move over to the men. Hinojosa is still maintaining that first place position. He finished 9th in midline climb, so not too bad, although those last sets of deadlifts looked very difficult for him. He looked a little funny crossing the finish line. I'm hoping it's just like locked up a little bit from all those deadlifts, midline, you know, all back locked up from all of that stuff and not from anything like serious. That would be my guess, but he did look a little bit funny crossing the finish line. In second, we still have got Brent Fikowski, so that's pretty much stayed the same. And then in third, we still have the same person we had going into this, and that is Roman Krennikov. He finished 11th in the midline event. Pat Vellner actually won this event, and he was in the first heat because he didn't really do well in the swim. Typical Pat Vellner fashion. Which is also interesting. That first heat, someone else was in there that wasn't supposed to be, Cole Sager. I was sitting next to Scott from Clydesdale Media, and we saw Cole Sager in the heat, and we're like, he's not even on the list, the heat list. The names, there was only 9 names, and there were 10 people there. We figured out that Cole Sager was not supposed to be there. He finished 12th in the swim, so he should have been in the third heat, so the second best heat. But it appears what we're gathering, it may have been said on the broadcast, but we don't hear that, that Cole decided to go into the least good heat, the fourth heat, or the first heat, the earliest heat, because they wanted to leave that middle lane open for the last 3 heats for Lazar. They had that middle lane 5, open for Lazar the last 3 heats, which was pretty cool. And I think Cole moved into that bottom heat so that they could leave the final 3 heats with that marker for Lazar. So that was pretty sweet. Justin Medeiros did really well in this workout. So did James Sprague. They're sitting in 4th and 5th. After that, we've got Dallin Pepper. Those big guys, Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper, looked very good too in this workout. Saxon Panchek overcame his height and still did well. Ricky Garrard fell a bit, so he was 4th going into this event, and then he ended up in 18th in the event, so 9th. He'll stay in that top heat, but not a great position. Jay Crouch finished 10th, so he'll climb his way into that final heat. Pat Vellner, so with that first place finish, he's in a 33rd and a 1st, so he put himself at 15th, so from 33rd to 15th, pretty impressive there. Cole Sager fell from 12th to 16th, but still a good place for Cole. Ruan Podgiatur, I don't remember how to say it. They did say it in the arena. He had a 5th in the Lake Day, so he came in the top heat, and he finished 35th in the midline climb. So he will fall down to only the 3rd heat. So that's pretty good for him. I imagine he'll creep his way down lower throughout the weekend, but must have been cool to be in that top heat for a moment for him. Moritz Fiebig, so he's in 26th. He finished 28th in midline climb, but he did rest that minute before taking the floor. He was emotional. He looked emotional. He sat next to Lazar's marker and was tearing up quite a bit. So he elected to take a poorer finish in this workout. 28th, so not awful, but a poorer finish, giving up that minute so that he could take a minute with Lazar. Felt emotional. Luca is now in 30th. He didn't start the midline climb, which is what we expected. Oh, Jeff Adler. Jeff Adler has said that he's not competing anymore this weekend, and he did not start midline. I don't know if I've mentioned this, and I don't think I have, but Dave Castro has said that the athletes who chose not to start this event do have the opportunity to come back if they want. So I'm not saying anyone's technically withdrawn yet because they don't have withdrawns on the leaderboards. Usually it would say WD. That's what it will say down by Victor Hoffer, who withdrew before any of this began. But all the athletes who didn't start this competition, those athletes have a DNS next to them. So that would be Karen Freyova. She's one of them. Laura Horvath, Jeff Adler, Lazar Đukić. Technically, they just did not start. They're not actually withdrawn at this point. Then the athlete that is currently in last overall who did compete in both workouts is Guy Malheiros, and I was watching and I was saying, for me, whenever I see Guy, I always feel like a little bit underwhelmed. He is great at the strength events, and when he competes in those, I'm impressed, but that's pretty much it. And that's sort of where things have been this weekend, with a 34th and a 30th place finish, currently sitting in 37th overall, and the only people below him are people who didn't compete. All right, so that is event 1. Event 2 is next. I'm going to mention this too. So the teams did something really nice in the final heat of the team competition, the heat that Mayhem is in, and Lazar used to be with Mayhem. They all didn't start. All 9 teams other than Mayhem. So 9 of the 10 teams chose not to start. They waited 1 minute and they let Mayhem start the event. So that was a pretty special, emotional moment on the floor for the teams. But I'm going to mostly focus on the individuals for these vlogs. But we'll mention the teams because that was a really special moment, and I'm glad I got to witness it. And hopefully I'll put it here and you can see it too.
Standing in solidarity. And here we go.
You the one that curved them for me. You the one that's searching for me. You the one that's hurting for me. You the one that deserve it from me. You the one that's perfect for me. Yeah, she a little freak. Yeah, she only do it for me. Yeah. What you don't know, girl? You know that I'm willing to teach. Yeah. Reaching your peak. Yeah, you know I'm the one with that reach. You know that. Yeah. Loving your body. Yeah. Loving your body.
Baby,
yeah,
let's get suited up. Got you some money, got you marine. She giving me streams. I dive in the stream. Fuck with it.
The first event where Tia showed just a little bit of weakness in quotes, because, I mean, it was a fast event. So we just had the Firestorm, which is a good name for a very, very fast event of echo bike calories and burpees over a small barrier. And Tia actually finished 7th in that event. Now it's like seconds separating people in this event, so it's not like she was really that slow, but just a little bit slower on the bike than some other athletes. So finally an event that Tia didn't win, and I'm a little bit happy about that. It'll be interesting to see Tia probably reclaim her title, but her winning every single event would be a little unexciting. So nice to see someone else get a W. And it was another Australian woman. It was Grace Walton who finished in first, and Tia was just 12 seconds slower, which in this workout is actually quite a bit when I think about it in the context of only 3 minutes of a workout. So Tia is still in first, 282 points. After that, we have Emily Rolfe, who has looked really good this weekend. We've talked about, she won't be good in the clean ladder. That's going to slow her down in the future. But right now, a 3rd, 6th, and a 5th, and I think she can do well at the track event tonight. So really solid day so far for Emily Rolfe, and a really solid CrossFit Games so far. And Bethany Flores making a little bit of a comeback, finishing 2nd in that event, but she was also at 3:09. So just to give you an idea of how fast Grace Walton was. She was 3:03 and in first, and then Bethany Flores was 3:09 and in second. So there was a lot, quote, a lot of space between Grace Walton and the rest of the field. 6 seconds in a workout like this is pretty fast. Like it's a pretty big distance. She was fast. Grace Walton was super fast, separated herself from everyone. Fourth is Haley Adams overall. Gabby Magala has moved her way into fifth after that event. Then Grace Walton, we just mentioned, is in sixth. Maddie Sturt in seventh. So we've got a lot of Australians near the top of the leaderboard. Emma Tall, it appears, may have withdrawn, or she didn't start the last event. She was in third, I believe, going into that event, and now she's in 10th. But I feel like a lot of these people that aren't starting aren't going to come back, but we'll see. We have yet to see what happens. Alex Suzanne has made her way into 11th, which is fantastic. I mean, 38th to start, starting the day in the bottom heat, and then a 9th and a 3rd, 2 top 10 finishes. Like, really impressed with Kazan and her headspace and her ability to stay focused enough to come back. Danielle Brandon, after a 37th place finish in event 2, took a 4th place finish in the last event, so now she's in 12th. Some really impressive comebacks. Emma Lawson, she was pretty low down there too, in the 20s, and now she is 15th, so making her climb after a 9th place finish. Alexis Raptis, surprisingly in 20th. She has a 14th, a 26th, and a 19th. Not what I expected from Alexis Raptis this weekend, but I would say that when I've seen her, it does appear that the impacts of Lazar's loss is hitting her. And I'm sure it's hitting everyone, but like I talked about earlier, grief hits people differently. And I think it could be impacting her performance more than some others, but I don't know. I haven't heard from her yet, but she's still here. She's still fighting. And that pretty much wraps up this event. Victoria Campos didn't start this event either, so we've had a couple people pull out that hadn't pulled out prior. I don't know if we'll continue to see that all weekend, or if this is where it starts to sort of trail off, and maybe we see people come back. Let's go over to the men, because that was fun. I think we have a new leader. Let's take a look. This is like I'm wearing a choker. It is my press credential, not a choker. It's 2024. So in first, we have James Sprague, who I didn't expect to do quite this well this weekend, but a 7th, and a 4th has him sitting in a first place position. And right behind him is Dallin Pepper, someone I had talked about being potentially a podium contender, sitting in 2nd place. Then Jason Hopper in 3rd. I will say, this game so far seems to be favoring a little bit of a bigger athlete, just looking, especially on the men's side, at who we have so far. James Sprague, I believe he's 6'2". Dallin Pepper is similarly sized. Jason Hopper is big. Roman Krennikov is in 4th. He's big. Brent Fikowski is in 5th. He's always been known as a tall guy. Yellow Hosta is in 6th. Tall. So it seems to be favoring the bigger guys. We'll see how that plays out the rest of the weekend. I think Amanda would have favored a little bit of a different athlete, but we didn't have that event, so we don't know how that would have played in here. But just an observation I'm making as I'm looking at this. And then we've got Patrick Vellner making his way into 7th, which is super impressive after a 33rd finish in the first event. We know Pat does this, but a 1st and a 3rd, I mean, that's really, slamming the hammer down. Jay Crouch is in 8th, and then we got Sam Aquant in 9th, and 10th is Ricky Garrard. Justin Medeiros is in 11th. So those are some of the bigger names. Saxon Panchek in 15th, BKG in 19th, Cole Sager in 20th, Guy 35th. Interesting group of people. Interesting how the leaderboard is shaken up right now. Ruan, who was top 5 to begin the day, has sort of fallen back to where we would expect him to be, with a 35th and then a 34th. But he's definitely given it his all, so that's cool. Next, we're going to head over to the field to check out how the athletes do on a mile time trial and then some sprinting.
friend is a machine gun. Me and T, we have so much fun. He used to
Good job, Roman.
Yeah, buddy. Go faster.
Oh!
It was a phenomenal finish.
Thanks. That was. I always do that. I can't count. Getting into work on is counting.
I think it's a learnable skill. So if that's all you
Well,
gotta
like,
work on.
I thought.
5.
I don't know. I just got lost. They all look the same. You know, like over here and over there.
It's been a long day.
I feel horrible right now.
How did it go this afternoon, this morning?
Not great. This is just really tough to do this after what happened. Like, I didn't think I was going to do this at all. I was planning on just not competing, and I just told myself, like, take the leaderboard out of it this year and just go out there and do what I love in honor of him, no matter what the leaderboard is. Like, give myself some grace, and it's not about that anymore. Much more important things. So it's just a very different experience this year.
It was actually pretty cool right here. The lighting on me is really bad when I turn this way, but look at the fields. It was a pretty cool view over here and a cool event. They promised and they delivered. I am sitting outside of Farrington Field. The way that you came out of the media pit sort of left me stuck coming out here and sitting here. I wanted to go sit in the stands so that I could be inside, but I'm stuck out here and there's like a ton of traffic. I am looking at it. Should I show it to you? Do you see all those cars? Yeah. I don't want to sit in that, so we're gonna wrap up the day right here next to this tree, my new friend, the tree, and we're gonna talk about where everyone ended up at the end of the day. So we'll start with the women because the women went first. This was our track and field event. They ran 1,600 meters. That is a mile for my non-American audience, people that use, you know, the rest of the world uses another system of measurement. Oh my God, ouch. I am being bitten by bugs too. Just in case you're wondering what it's like at 10 o'clock at night sitting outside in Fort Worth, Texas. It's still muggy and you're being bitten by bugs. But let's get to the review. So, Tia-Clair Toomey, she is in first, and what did she do in the track and field event? She won. She was way ahead in that run in the second heat. In the first heat, there was a real battle between Alexis Raptis and Brooke Wells for the winner of the run, but those two events are scored together, so I don't know how that impacted who actually won that, but I believe Alexis Raptis beat Brooke Wells, just edged her out in that run. And you probably just heard Alexis Raptis speaking, but she was saying that she miscounted. She thought after she finished the third lap, she thought that was her fourth lap, and she was slowing down after completing the third lap, and then realized she had to keep going. Like, she kicked for the third lap, not the fourth lap, and she almost lost that first place in the 1,600 meters, but she did maintain it in that heat, but barely. So in first, Tia-Clair Toomey, but in second, we now have Haley Adams, and it is a tie points-wise with Emily Rolfe. So Haley Adams came in second in the track and field event, and Emily Rolfe's best finish is a third, so I believe that is why Haley Adams gets the edge over Emily Rolfe when the points are exactly the same. And in fourth now, we have Bethany Flores. She got ninth in that event, but pretty solid finishes for Bethany, especially with that heavy back event with all the GHD sit-ups, with all of the deadlifts. Like, that's a lot for someone who had a big back injury, and she mitigated the damage there. In fifth, we have Gabby Magala. She came in fourth in the track and field event. Amy Kringle is sitting in sixth. A really good start to the weekend for Amy Kringle. Paige Semenza in seventh. This is an interesting leaderboard. Very different than what a lot of people predicted going into the weekend, but I will say a lot of people had Laura Horvath on the podium, and she's not competing, so that definitely impacts things. But there's a lot of people that are in the top 10 right now. Despite that, like, there are multiple people that are surprises in the top 10 right now, and not enough people have withdrawn to mean that these people didn't earn it. Does that make sense? Like, there are surprises here regardless. So the seventh was Paige Semenza, eighth Grace Walton, ninth Maddie Sturt, and 10th Danielle Brandon. Grace Walton may surprise me. I thought Maddie Sturt was going to be the best person out of the Oceania region. I said that earlier in this video, and I might be wrong. After seeing Grace Walton win that event earlier today, the only person to beat Tia, well, more than just her beat Tia, but the only person to win an event other than Tia, doing really well. 10th is Danielle Brandon, 11th Claudia Gluck. Alex Gazan has managed to punch her way up into 13th, although she had a 20th in the track and field, so not a great event for her, but top 10 is definitely still within reach for Alex Gazan. Hattie Canio is right above her in 12th. She had an 8th place finish in that event. Emma Lawson, 14th. Alexis Raptis has made her way back into 15th with a 15th place finish in the track and field. She did really well in that first portion of it, not as well on the second portion of the track and field event. Brooke Wells is in 17th. Right above her is Ariel Lowen. Who else is someone that we want to keep an eye on? Other than that, I think we mostly have the people we expect, or those are the people that are really competing for something, for a top 10 position at this point. The rest of the names, I think, are people we expected to be a little bit lower down, or people who have withdrawn, or at least did not start a bunch of events, so they've continued to fall down the leaderboard. Let's go over to the men's side. I haven't seen it yet. Haven't seen who's in first. So let's experience this together. Hopefully it's updated. And it is. Okay, so it is updated, but I don't think the points are updated. So I am going to, well, wait a second. It is so much later. I am in my hotel room. It is, what time is it? And my air conditioning just shut off. It is 12:30. 12:30. And I finally saw that the men's leaderboard is updated. There was a problem with it before, but it is updated. And I can wrap this video, finally, and tell you what it looks like at the end of day 2, 1.5. Day 2. At the end of day 2, James Sprague is your leader with 346 points. Only 9 points behind him is Roman Krenikov. Then Brent Fikowski in third. Jason Hopper, who really ended the day, well, actually, he just had a great day, Jason Hopper. A second, a first, and a 12th. So Jason Hopper had a great day 2. Puts him in fourth. Yella Hosta has fell to fifth. Then we have Ricky Garrard, who beasted that last event. Just like, he took off and was in a league of his own, just running with no one around him. He finished first in the final event of the day, putting him in sixth. Pat Bellner is in your 7th place position. Great day for Pat. First, third, and fifth. You know, as I say, he didn't finish as strong in that last event, which is true, because he was first and third in the previous events. But first, third, fifth, fantastic finishes. He just doesn't do well in those first events. Jay Crouch in 8th. Dallin Pepper fell down in that last event. He finished 22nd, and now he's in 9th, but still top 10. Samuel Quant is your 10th place athlete. And then, surprisingly, in 11th is Kaylin Souza, who had a 5th, 16th, and an 11th. let's check out what other names you may need to know about farther down the leaderboard. Justin Medeiros is in 17th, BKG in 19th. And that pretty much sums up the people that we expect to have a lot of success. And one more thing I wanted to check. Guy did not start in event for the track and field event. So we've got quite a few athletes who have pulled out on the men's side. I believe it's Guy, Jeff Adler, Samuel Cornway. Doesn't say DNS, he just has dashes, but I believe he didn't compete in the last two events. And Victor Hoffer, we know, had pulled out much earlier in the competition before it even started. He withdrew. So that's your wrap up of day 2 of the CrossFit Games. It's been an interesting one. A lot of emotions, very different than past CrossFit Games, but I am grateful that we can be together as a community in a really hard time and support one another. And I think near the end of the day, we found some moments of joy. And I don't think that means anyone is forgetting Lazar. I think he's at the front of almost everyone's minds, if not everyone's. I just think we are still finding the joyous moments while remembering his life and legacy. Another day tomorrow. I appreciate you all for watching and hanging out with me throughout this. And if you watched till the end, I really appreciate that too. All right, I will see you tomorrow.